Thank you so much. I appreciate Professor Gensini Fanelli. Actually, my lecture is going to be completely different. And I would like you to pay attention because I'm pediatrician, professor of pediatrics, professor of genetics, and professor of forensic science living between United States and Croatia. And I'm particularly interested in the new approaches in understanding genetics of the pain. So I would say if we see some information, presumably that they're published in New England Journal of Medicine, regarding the money that has been spent in the United States, it's amazing. As you see, almost 120 million people, or Americans, that are suffering for some kind of the pain. And it's really epidemia where they're spending by now close to 600 billions of US dollars. And actually, if you see that expenditure, it's more than for the cancer, heart disease, and diabetes combined. You know, we are friends, we know each other for many years. We work on different projects on forensics when he was involved in Bosnia, but he was particularly hurt by two incidents when a very close friend of him lost two sons by pain relieving drugs over prescription. So President get involved, even his foundation published incredible story showing some data, basically almost 19 minutes somebody is dying in the United States of America by misuse of the pain relieving drugs. If you see from the other point, we are trying to be focused more on the chronic low back pain, and the numbers are very clearly showing you that about 87% of the all inhabitants of the European Union at one point, well, they experienced the low back pain. If you see what is the burden of the GDP, it's between 1 and 2%. That is absolutely unbelievable at this moment. You know, situation with the low back pain, it's very clinically defined by the either patient with discogenic pain, facet joint pain, sacroiliac joint pain, widespread pain, and spinal stenosis. And again, if you see some recent data, there's really no any evidence or knowledge to understanding this pathophysiology. There's no any evidence regarding biomarkers that are important to understand, or combination of imaging data that follow each other, or to predict what will be response on different drugs for these particular patients. You know, the logic that we used a few years ago basically was completely different if you would like to understand more about mechanism of the pain. And indeed, you cannot use the same philosophy all the time and try to solve the problems. So in 1 minute, you will see what we have done, the group of the very, very interesting people who created the concept of the so-called translational medicine or personalized medicine regarding the pain treatment. If you have only basic science, where most of the scientists doing all the time, so they are coming and they are talking about different genes for the clinicians, they really don't understand what's going on. There's nothing more painful than talk about pain genetics. At the same time, you have clinical medicine that for many years keep away from the basic science. So what we have tried, we try really to work closely and we try to combine both of them and put together. What are the differences between all these two people? Not more than 0.1% in their genes. That's all. So they differ 0.1% in the genes, but still, in my field of the forensics, it's incredible value in order to understand who committed crime, to identify people, to perform paternity. But on clinical testing, incredibly important to understand the mechanism of the pain. So, almost 3 years ago, the group of the physicians from the United States, from Caroline Penn Institute and some other institutions, we tried to design the project. We were so lucky to be financed close to 7 million, 7th framework working program. And I'm very happy to announce that a very close colleague and a friend Professor Allegri, who is sitting in the first row, he is the coordinator of this project, along with 9 other countries. And if you see, it's Italy, Belgium, Croatia, United Kingdom, Germany, Netherlands, United States, France. And the concept, it's very clear. We are trying to determine completely different approach than anyone did so far regarding pain genetics, and all this money, 7.8 million, will cost European Commission in order to understand very simple. I tried to put on one slide schematic from the diagnostics to the eventual treatment, understanding new molecular target involving the pain. So what is the philosophy? So you are having a patient, and at one point you are trying to see why he's having low back pain. I can tell you, as somebody who is owning the pain clinic, St. Catherine Hospital, that so many times you are having MRI findings that you are not able to discover anything that is related to low back pain. And in some other situations, you are having low back pain with very strong findings that disappear in a very short period of time. So the idea was to try to understand what's happening with epigenetics. So that's completely new field that is helping you to understand what's happening on the genes without any influences within genes, but with environment and some other factors. The second point that was very important, it's activomics. So we are trying to understand the different enzymes that are involved on the progress of the pain. At the same time, we are entering proteomics, my love genomics, and completely new area, those are called glycomics, or the sugars that are present on the different proteins. So for many years, I was teaching students at Penn State University, the gene is the most important, because if you are having gene, there's a process of transcription where you are having your messenger RNA that eventually is going to give you protein. If you have good protein, you should be healthy, you should function as a normal person. But dear colleagues, it's not true. You can have a perfect protein, but if you have changes on the sugars, that's what is related to the to the glycomics, you may have disease. So that's completely new concept in the medicine. So can you imagine if you are having patient who is coming to the day 0, you are taking blood samples, doing all these tests in the different laboratories, so you are testing genomics, proteomics, activomics, and glycomics, repeated after 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 1 year. Prediction is very clear. Let's see the changes in all these 5 aspects that we are going to analyze. So basically, if we will be able to analyze different genes or different glycans or different proteins or different enzymes, we'll be able to understand the changes from the acute low back pain to the chronic low back pain in order to understand new molecular target involved in the pain. Once when you have new molecular target, you are completely changing the way how the pain will be treated. Completely. I didn't want to talk about 28 genes that I recently spoke at the VIP conference. They are all related to the pain because they're so confused. But let me tell you something. These particular candidates pathways, they are linked with the tumor necrosis factor, group of the 28 genes, and those genes, they have to do nothing with the pain. You will be surprised, I would say, in a few months when we are going to publish some of the first data. You know, our study, we are actually covering 12,000 of different twins, and that's incredible value, thanks to our colleagues from Great Britain, because at any moment you are able to compare what's happening with the twins, pain and not pain, presumably with equal genetic structure. So that's what's happening for the first time. And indeed, our centers are covering about 4,000 new patients of chronic low back pain every year. So to conclude, because I wanted just to give you five minutes, the concept, how we are going to think about pain in the future will be related to these 5 components that I found to be incredibly important link between basic science and the clinical science. So if you see our 9 institutions, basically half of them are basic science, half of them the clinical work. We have 5 years in front of us to determine what is going in this particular field. And once again, you know, it was very, very complicated to put in a few slides such progressive work on the genetics, painomics, I would say glycomics, that became the love for many of us. And I believe strongly that we are going to have to at least few new answers that the field of the pain didn't have so far. So thank you so much, I appreciate. And I invite you to participate in this study. If you have any interesting patient that we are able to follow up, and Professor Massimo Allerghi will be more than happy to coordinate the patient from Italy. Right now I'm working very, very, very strong with our colleagues from United States, because, you know, from all that I told you in this moment, we will be also able to determine differences between different regions of the world regarding the mutations of the gene, regarding different mutations on the enzymes, on the protons. So hopefully we are going to have some very important data. I can tell you already, you know, few pharmaceutical companies are approaching us strongly, trying to see what is going on in the field, because they realize presumably the entire field will be changed. And at the same time, we are trying to be very careful with our statements, because the worst mistake you can make is to try to be too early with the data and try to link with the pain syndrome. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, and we can discuss later on. Thank you.